Magandang araw sa ating lahat mga ka-research. Sa araw na ito ay pag-uusapan natin ang tungkol sa types of research. Tatlo po ang mahalagang pag-uusapan natin ngayon. Ang quantitative research, ang qualitative research, at ang mixed method research. At ang ating pong mga panauhin ay mula sa mga professor ng CELTECH College Olongapo at ngayon din ay full-time teachers ng San Guillermo National High School, San Marcelino, Zambales. Mga ka-research, ginawa ang video na ito upang ating pagnilayan at ma-finalize natin kung ano nga ba talagang types of research ang ating gagawin. Ito ba ay qualitative, quantitative, o gusto nyong mag-mixed method kung saan magkasama ang quali at quanti? Kung kaya't pagkatapos nating panoorin ang video na ito, tayo ay mag-finalize kung ano ba talaga ang gusto nating tahakin na research natin. Sa pagkakataong ito mga ka-research, ipinakikilala ko sa inyo ang ating unang panauhin. Siya po ay former senior high school coordinator ng CELTECH College Olongapo at ngayon po ay teacher ng San Guillermo National High School sa San Marcelino, Zambales. Siya po ay isang researcher, isa rin po siyang panel member at syempre expert pagdating po sa mundo ng pananaliksik o mundo ng research. Bigyang pugay po natin si Professor John Oliver Fababier Panes.
Good day everyone. Let's talk about the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research. Qualitative research is a non-numerical data that describes the feelings, qualities, and attitudes of a certain subject. While quantitative research, the data can be numerically analyzed and quantifiable into hard facts. Okay, so let's now discuss qualitative research. Okay, so for the population in qualitative research, so it should be based on the design. So we all know that a qualitative research has four major designs, diba? So the first one is narrative inquiry. The focus of question to us is about the story of a certain subject. And then we also have phenomenology. The focus of questions to us, essence. For the grounded theory, process. And for the case study, in-depth descriptive. Okay? So, sa quantitative research naman, we have different designs. So, the first one is the descriptive design. Okay? And we also have survey research. Okay? Quasi-experimental and experimental. For the treatment of data, in qualitative research, they use themes to interpret the responses of the subjects. While in quantitative research, we use statistical analysis. Okay? So, in statistics, it is divided into two. So, we have the descriptive and inferential statistics. So, for the descriptive, okay, so we tabulate the result. Okay? So, we obtain the frequency and the percentage. And of course, the mean and the arithmetic mean or the weighted mean. Okay? And in inferential statistics naman, to determine whether the hypothesis is accepted or rejected. Okay? So we apply, say for example, to compare the significant difference, so t-test. Okay? And then for the significant relationship naman, Pearson-R correlation. So, we have different statistical tools na ginagamit din. No? So, just like one-way ANOVA, okay, and etc. Okay. And for the collection of methods in qualitative research, we use open-ended questions, unstructured interview, and observations. While in quantitative research, we use closed-ended questions for survey. Okay? We also use tests and checklists. Qualitative research use the INFAD model. So, ano po yung INFAD model? So, I stands for the introduction, M for methods and procedures, okay? And then F for findings and discussion. Okay? While in quantitative research, we use IMRAD model. So, introduction, methods and procedures, results, and discussion. Okay? Again, the main data in qualitative research is descriptions, okay? While the main data in quantitative research is numerical. Thank you and God bless.
Ang atin naman pong ikalawang panauhin ay former Director for Academics and Research ng CELTECH College Olongapo. At ngayon po ay isang batikang researcher, panel member at siyempre research expert, lalo na po sa mixed method of research. Bigyan pugay po natin si Dr. Jeneline Rose Ivan Habalia mula sa San Guillermo National High School, Senior High School Department, San Marcelino, Zambales.
Good evening. I'll be discussing the mixed method approach. So what is a mixed method approach in research? A mixed method research design is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing both the quantitative and qualitative research and method in single study to understand a research problem. Mixed research methodology utilizes both the quantitative and the qualitative data collection. For examples, you are going to use questionnaires at the same time you are going to conduct an interview. Performance tests at the same time an observation. Questionnaires should be followed up with a focus group discussions. Document analysis, performance tests, questionnaires, and interviews are the most common method used in a mixed method approach. But when do we use the mixed method design in research? When both quantitative and qualitative data together provide a better understanding of your research problem than either type by itself. So when one type of research, qualitative or quantitative, is not enough to address the research problem or answer the research questions, mixed method design will be used. Pragmatism, a practicality, multiple viewpoints, biased and unbiased, subjective and objective approach. We are going to use a mixed method to incorporate a qualitative component into an otherwise quantitative study, to build from one phase of a study to another, explore the quantitatively, then develop an instrument, follow up a quantitative study qualitatively to obtain more detailed information. The key characteristics of mixed method design is the rationale. So a rationale, it tests findings of the first phase. Then it explains the result of the first phase in more detail. It provides a more complete understanding than either a quantitative or a qualitative alone, collecting both the quantitative and a qualitative data. It is either numeric and a text data. So the key decisions in choosing a mixed method study. So how are we going to decide? We are going to decide based on the level of interaction between the quantitative and qualitative strands. We have to consider the priority of those strands, the timing of the strands, and where and how to mix those strands. So we have major mix method design to help us decide what are we going to use. So the major mix method designs are: number one, the convergent parallel design. As you can see, we have the quantitative data collection and analysis and a qualitative data collection and analysis. We are going to compare or relate the two, and then we are going to interpret. The convergent design, the researcher collects quantitatively and qualitative data concurrently, then analyzes the two data sets separately, mixes the two databases by merging the results during the interpretation, and sometimes during the data analysis. This convergent design, we are going to use the philosophical assumptions. It is best suited to an umbrella paradigm such as pragmatism. And the common variants, we have the parallel databases variant, data transformation variant, and data validation variant. And the strength of this design, it is very intuitive, efficient, and lends itself to teams. But there are challenges in using the convergent design. It requires substantial effort and expertise. Issues related to the samples and sample sizes. A difficult convergence, two sets of different data. So it is very difficult because we are going to converge two different sets of data. And we are going to resolve discrepancies based on the results. Another design is what we call the explanatory sequential design. So we are going to have the quantitative data collection and analysis first, then make a follow-up with the qualitative data collection and analysis. After that, we are going to interpret the result. The explanatory design, the researcher starts by collecting and analyzing quantitative data, then collects and analyzes the qualitative data on a second phase as a follow-up to the quantitative results. Then connects the phases by using the quantitative results to shape the qualitative result questions, sampling, and the data collection. The explanatory design philosophical assumptions begin from the post-positivism for the quantitative phase, then shift to constructivism for a qualitative phase. And the common variant here, we have follow-up explanation variant, participant collection variant. Next, we have the explanatory sequential design. Quantitative data collection will be done first, then we are going to make a follow-up with a qualitative data collection and analysis and interpret the result. The explanatory design, the researcher collects and analyzes qualitative data followed by a quantitative, analyzes the qualitative data, and uses the result to build a subsequent quantitative phase. Connects the two phases by using the qualitative result to shape the quantitative phase by specifying research questions and variables, developing an instrument, or generating a typology. The strength of explanatory design, it is straightforward to design, implement, and report. The quantitative component can make the qualitative approach more acceptable to quantitative bias audiences. Researcher produces a product, such as an instrument, and lends itself to emergent approaches. Then we have another design, the what we call embedded design. An embedded design is a quantitative or a qualitative design. Then we are going to interpret. So how is this? So we are going to have a quantitative designed to be used within an embedded approach, either a correlational, explanatory, or predictive design, then an experimental between the subjects like the pre and the post-test design. For predictive design, we are going to conduct an experimental within the subject crossover design and factorial design. Then from there, we are going to collect the qualitative by using a predictor variable or criterion variable. Then we are going to interpret. The embedded research design collects and analyzes quantitative and a qualitative data within a quantitative research design, qualitative research design, or research approach. Collection and analysis of secondary set occurs before, during, and or after the preliminary methods. The embedded design worldview may reflect the preliminary approach, use pragmatism for a concurrent approach, or shift in a sequential approach. Common variants, we have embedded experiment, embedded correlational, embedded instrument development and validation, mixed method case study, mixed method narrative research, and mixed method ethnography. For the format of a mixed method, we are going to have the chapter 1, which is composed of the introduction with the statement of the problem, the topic, the research problem, the background and justification, deficiencies in the evidence, the audience, and the definition of terms. For the chapter 2, we have the literature review, the purpose of a statement, the research question in a quantitative, qualitative, and a mixed method. For methodology, we have the participants in a quantitative and a qualitative approach, the instruments used, the procedures, the design, which is a quantitative and a qualitative data analysis, and the limitation. So that's all for the presentation of the mixed method. Thank you very much.
Mga ka-research, ipakikita ko sa inyo ngayon ang mga final topics at final research ng mga estudyante ng CELTECH College upang magkaroon kayo ng guide kung nais nyo bang bigyan din ng tuon, i-finalize ang inyong topic at para magkaroon kayo ng scholarly work, research o thesis. Tingnan natin ngayon. Ngayong napakinggan mo na ang tatlong types of research, quantitative, qualitative, at mixed method. Na-realize mo na ba at nakapag-finalize ka na ba kung ano ba talaga ang gagawin mong research? Quantitative research ba? Qualitative research ba? O mag-mixed method ka? At sa iyong pagpili, dapat ang desisyon mo ay laging tama. Huwag lang ikaw ang magpasya. Hingin mo ang desisyon ng iyong mga kagrupo dahil ang research ay isang grupo na magdedesisyon. Sa susunod nating pagkikita mga kaibigan ay gagawin na po natin ang chapter 1. Good luck sa inyong pag-aaral at good luck din sa inyong pagbabaybay, sa inyong journey, sa inyong thesis. Magandang araw pong muli.